The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Yeah. Good morning, you guys. It is Thursday, February 6th. Today is whoa, easy there. Today is Optimist Day, you guys. For all you optimists out there.
Opposite.
Oh, that's Optimus. There's a T at the end. You can't silence the T.
I'm a cautious optimist.
Yep, fair enough. It's also National Chopsticks Day.
Hell yeah.
I love chopsticks. I was actually teaching someone how to use chopsticks earlier this week on Monday.
Tom Hanks.
So funny. You're gonna love this, bro, for your froyos, bro, because it's National Frozen Yogurt Day.
Mm-hmm. I know that. Mm-hmm. I know that Ron DeSantis loves some public froyo.
Oh boy.
Sessions.
Oh boy. Speaking of Ron DeSantis, it's also National Lame Duck Day.
Yeah. Oh,
all right.
Yeah, ducks. It should be lame.
White rubber boots, you mean?
Yeah. Oh boy, you guys are funny.
Yeah.
Thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook. And we are now on LinkedIn and Kick as well as our very own website at www.highat9news.com. So welcome to everyone joining us from any one of those platforms, you guys. Man, oh man, we got a full house today. Can't wait to hear what y'all have to say. Coming up first, we have the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte, the man who's rocking an orange hat today in honor of MJ, apparently. That's right, it is the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte.
Jason, you're the only colorblind person I believe. All right, man. So, with yet another victory notched onto its belt this week, the trap remains undefeated. France reportedly has the highest cannabis consumption rates in all of Europe, but its 3-year-old medical program is being abruptly shut down by emboldened conservative activists. Sound familiar? 3 years ago, with the full support of President Emmanuel Macron, France embarked on a limited 3-year medical cannabis journey that many believed to be a natural step forward into a new green reality the rest of the European Union has slowly embraced. The program was notably conservative, only available to patients with acute ailments by prescription, when all other legally prescribed medications had failed to effectively relieve suffering. The trial was marked to run through the end of 2024, and just this past September, local media sources were reportedly overwhelmingly positive, reported results to evaluate the possibility of an inevitable expansion set for early 2025. However, on December 22nd, amid waning political support for Macron, French health authorities announced a brief extension of the trial would be implemented, not an expansion, but an extension, through July 2025 to give the nation's 1,800 enrolled patients a grace period to either stop treatment or find alternatives, while parliamentary conservatives moved to shift funding away from taxation back into enforcement. Now, less than 2 months after that update, according to French news outlet RFI, the countries announced that they'd be abruptly shuttering the program altogether. A sad day for the people of France and advocates for cannabis reform worldwide, but also a great day for European trappers and those in support of true cannabis freedom in every sense of the word, freedom from legislation, regulation, and pesky lab testing standards. I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High 9 News. Vive la France!
Viva la France. Man, this is interesting, Rico. I mean, I don't understand how they can just abruptly stop this whole program. Was their funding related to USAID?
Maybe they are taking cues from America and American conservatives saying, you know, fuck rules, fuck what we say. We're going to do what we want. We're doing things right now.
Possible. I mean, I've seen crazier things happen.
1,800 people in the entire country.
1,800 in their limited medical program. Yeah. But they said they had 200,000 arrests last year, drug-related arrests. Oh, wow. The majority of them tied to cannabis. So I think you can look at it a lot like New York, where New York has the highest consumption rate allegedly in the world, but they just quote unquote legalized, I guess, like last year. So everybody smokes in France, and they were looking to just a few months ago, they were looking to move forward on legalization or expansion of their medical program at least, and looks like it's dead now.
They do smoke a lot in France. That's fair.
Do they?
Yeah, big smokers. They're like chain smokers out there, like crazy.
With weed too?
I'm probably more spliffs out there.
Yeah, Euro cigarettes, if you will.
Yeah. They like to roll those spliffies out there.
All Europe rolls spliffs. I mean, like, listen, yeah, the people in France definitely love weed. I think that this is, I don't know. France is gonna always do what France is gonna do. That's why you can Google on YouTube French fighting the police, and they're just in the streets squabbling with the police. Like, the French population in general, like, they're just not with the shit. So, I don't know. I mean, 1,800 people in the whole country.
I don't know why this is so hard to understand, Jenny. For policymakers looking around the world, you can't control people's consumption of cannabis through prohibitions. Just it hasn't worked for 50 plus years, or even back to the 1961 convention. It hasn't worked. So we're going to wipe the program out. What does that mean? You're going to be going to the black market.
Yep.
So it's like this Stevie Wonder can see this. Why in the fuck can't these people understand this?
I love that.
You don't work to legalize it, and the black market's just laughing and burying their money.
I think they just have to stop prosecuting it at this point, because, like, at the end of the day, all but 1,800 people were still going to the black market for it. So, like, what big whoop and big dent are you making in anything with 1,800 people in an entire fucking country buying it legally? Like, all right, cool, bet you guys you're doing something there.
Yeah, they were looking to expand the program beyond those 1,800 that were medically able to. I mean, as I said in my story, the clamps that they put on the program were just unsustainable. You know, it said it was only available to patients with acute ailments by prescription when all other legally prescribed medications had failed to effectively relieve suffering, whatever that means. So it was doomed to fail from the beginning. It looked promising that they were going to be expanding the program, but Macron has come under fire and recently, and the conservatives are winning out there, and the conservatives do not want weed out there in them streets. So they are shifting all the funding that was going to be going to expansion of this program into enforcement.
Of course, they're going to move it to enforcement. Oh, man. So they're just going to basically be pushing all of their patients over to Germany, sounds like.
No, it just sounds like it sounds like they're just taking cues from red states in America. They're doing that do the exact same thing and fail, and then the only natural progression is the rise of the trap and a bunch of hemp derivatives, and forcing them to reverse the effects of that.
My story,
because they can't control it.
My story today actually involves a red state that is advancing medical cannabis today, Rico. So I'm going to push back
with an
on
asterisk. That. I can't wait to hear the asterisk in your spin on how conservatives do a great job with cannabis.
This is actually
nobody does a great job with cannabis. Let's not start this shit this early. We're rolling good on time today.
No, you're taking cues from me, Jenny. That's it. Nobody does good.
Missouri,
like, oh,
Missouri,
this is a good thing.
Missouri does good on cannabis. Missouri does good on cannabis.
Do they really?
Yeah.
They started off. They started off good. They started off good, and then we had like a bunch of shit went sideways.
That's they got some whatever's over there operating.
Well, I guess the use of the term "good" is relative. Because there ain't a damn state in this country that's doing good with cannabis.
Not
a single one.
Not one.
You have anything to say about this, Rachelle, before we move on? France?
I just want to know, what the trap is like in France. I'm very curious about the trap weed there. Where is it coming from? Is it any good? How much are they paying? I don't think I really met many French trappers at Spanibus, but I'm very curious about that whole culture. So
I'll find out.
I think we should apply for a grant from USAID and then go over there.
Everybody that I smoked with in France got their weed from me, so it's like I was supplying for those sessions. So
fair enough.
They called me the U.S. weed queen. It was cute. Shout out to Mr. Chocolat.
Allegedly, right, Jenny Beth.
Mr.
Incriminate yourself.
Come on, dog.
You incriminate yourself on live internet here.
Mr. Chocolat.
My bad.
Shout out to Mr. Chocolat.
Yeah.
It sounds black.
Well,
he is black.
Highly melanated, right?
He's black. Yes.
All right. Black. Well, I think we're gonna run into our first commercial. I'm gonna try to play this again. I'm not sure if it's gonna work. So if not, Anthony. Yeah, no, it didn't work. Go ahead.
One step.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, And I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility. So you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where I'm even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Test it. It's not a name, it's a promise.
Oh, yes, and we are back, Rico.
Just two old dudes in their golden age,
right?
Just having a good conversation by the ocean.
By the ocean, baby.
Gotta respect that.
The ocean breeze, baby. Good old ocean breeze.
The highest Republican in every room, known for smoking the best weed in the world, our very own party and partisan, Jason Beck.
Yes. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Thursday, you guys. And man, get ready for this progression, Rico. I don't know what you're gonna do with yourself. Because Arkansas lawmakers file a bill to allow medical marijuana purchases with health savings accounts, you guys. That's right. Legislation to allow qualifying patients and designated caregivers to purchase medical marijuana using a flexible spending account, better known as a FSA, or a health savings account, a HSA, has been filed with the Arkansas legislature, you guys. That's right. House Bill number 1408 was filed yesterday by Senate Representatives Aaron Pilkington, Republican, and Joshua Bryant, Republican. The measure would amend state law explicitly permit the use of these amounts for medical marijuana purchases under the Arkansas Medical Marijuana Amendment of 2016. That is better known as Amendment 98. The bill defines an FSA as a medical expense account established within an employer-sponsored cafeteria plan, and a HSA as a tax-advantaged account linked to a high-deductible health plan consistent with federal tax law. If passed, the legislation could expand financial options for medical marijuana patients in Arkansas, but it remains unclear how it would interact with federal regulations. The Internal Revenue Service, better known as the IRS, does not currently classify medical marijuana as an eligible medical expense, which could create potential legal and tax implications for account holders. House Bill 1408 is expected to receive a committee assignment soon, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. Republicans leading the way to help everybody have a payday to be able to pay for their medicine in Arkansas. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. And thank you to Leah Patrick. I hope you feel better, Leah. She's the one that sent me over this article, so thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a good progress. However, how many Arkansans have health insurance?
Are you asking Kansans? Kansans don't live in Arkansas, Rico.
How many of these people actually have health insurance to get these benefits? And I wonder what tax bracket they are in.
Oh man, we just got a super chat in from the Suitors who says Rico is yoked as F. Call him Swole Daddy. Never late to the gun show.
Damn.
Yeah, right. Man, Rico, we're gonna have to do a push-up contest, bro. I think I can beat you.
You heard it here first.
Mm-hmm.
Get your money up. Get your wagers up in the super chat.
Yeah.
Speaking of hearing it here first, in 2022, 90% of residents had health insurance, up 75% in 2012 and 3 points below the national rate. So 90% of Arkansas residents have health insurance, Rico.
Right,
yeah, Rico.
Let's take that a step further. How many of them are on Obamacare, which Donald Trump said he is going to eradicate?
The largest portion of Arkansas's population has health insurance through their employer, because I knew you were going to go ahead and say that. So I was ready to do my pow.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Jenny Beth.
Yeah, through their employer, through the Obamacare portal.
Through their employer, through their employer, Rico.
You can have it through your employer. You can have it through your employer. Connected through Obamacare.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It's employer sponsored. Medicaid coverage varies by county. 10%.
How many qualify for HSA? How many
Arkansans have Affordable Care Act health?
Okay, hold on. One more step forward is HSA, high deductible health care. That is for the rich and the people with high paying jobs. How many of them have HSAs?
FSA actually is, right? So it's something that you say, hey, employer, I want to put X number amount into my FSA account. So essentially all that fucking does is it's still your money you're spending, but it is pre-tax on your paycheck, and there is no tax on the purchase.
Oh, I know what it is. I know what it is.
Not act like just
if we do away with Obamacare, I would like to
hold on, Rico. Let her finish talking.
Damn. Let's not act like just because my deductible is high and I'm not on like an HMO or a PPO that's like whatever, because my deductible is high doesn't mean that I can't elect to have a health savings or a flexible spending account, because those two things, while sort of connected, there's usually a different product administrator for the FSA or the HSA, right? So like you have Blue Cross Blue Shield, your fucking FSA might say Optima on it. So those things are not mutually exclusive. So I'm going to poo-poo on all your points, trying to poo-poo on the story. I think it's cool that they're allowing people to use their tax-free fucking money. And farther than that, take it a step farther, they're actually qualifying cannabis as a real medical expense, which I think is the cool. win here.
I totally agree with you on that analysis, Jenny Beth, all the way, all day. I think this is the coolest story. This is the first state that I've seen to do this and really take a hold of medical and be able to give patients the allotment to write it off on their health coverage. And I want to applaud the Republican members in the Arkansas legislature that are moving forward with this plan and drafted this up. Good, bravo to them.
You want to applaud her assessment because you didn't make that assessment and you didn't dig deeper on it, Jason, right?
Bro, I'm not here to dig deeper like that, Rico. I'm here to do the show. All right, Jenny Beth is like the data analysis.
Before, I would like to wait to see this in action, and I cannot wait to return to this story when I hear of a ton of people getting kicked off of their insurance and not being able to even qualify for this.
Bravo.
I'm a student of history, and I know that this is going to happen. There will be pushback, and I don't know, man. I'm just a realist.
Why the insurance isn't paying for it? They fucking are with their money, just at a lower tax rate.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see.
And the state has absolute right to do this. It doesn't affect the insurance company either way because the taxes. And the reason why the state can do this is because those taxes that would have been taken out on that money that is given pre-tax to that fucking flexible spending account is the state's money. The state would have gotten that money. So they're like, you know what? Actually, here you can use it for this and we'll allow this to be a tax-free situation. So this really isn't just like why Obamacare was constitutional, right? Because it wasn't a fucking insurance policy. It was a tax policy.
It was.
There we
because
go.
I'm a student of history.
There we go. Oh, students of history. Yeah, look at that.
Coming with the fire, Jenny Beth. I like it.
What do you have to say about this, Rachelle? Arkansas.
I mean, it's kind of wild to think that a state like Arkansas is tackling this, but more power to them. And I've been waiting for medical patients, especially, to be able to access their medicine in a way that they can access their pharmaceutical prescriptions. Because as we all know, this shit can be mad cost prohibitive for a lot of people. So whatever it takes to get people the medicine they need, instead of, you think about it like this, right? Like you go to a dispensary in some states, you're talking about $20, $30, $40, $50 for weed versus your copay on a prescription for Xanax or some opioid that's $3 for people on a fixed income. What are they supposed to do with that? So this is great.
Yes. I totally agree. What do you have to say about this, Dale?
It's good progress.
It's a step forward. I still want to see what the IRS does with this. Everybody thinks it's tax deductible. I'd like to see how that works out. And just as a blanket statement, healthcare in the United States is FUBAR, fucked up beyond all recognition.
That part is true, Dale. But I will say this in regards with your comments of the IRS. The IRS might not be here long enough to even provide a comment on this. You know what I'm saying? The way Doge is doing things.
Yeah. Well, my popcorn is still popping. Courts are getting involved, and we'll see how far the separation of powers is allowed to be stepped on before someone says no, can't do this anymore.
Fair enough. And Jenny, we are going to continue to be good on time today, apparently, at least for right now. We're going to roll right into Mr. Attorney at Law, Mr. Dale SCHAFER. Dale has been an attorney since the Reagan administration. He has represented physicians, hospitals, insurance companies, cops, correction officers, and for the last 25 years, he has specialized in cannabis law. He served a 5-year federal prison sentence for helping medical marijuana patients and managed to save his law license. He's blunt. He doesn't smoke them. He's honest and unconcerned with public opinions and especially yours, and will not hesitate to show you how he can defy gravity by pissing up a rope. That's right. It is none other than your favorite Tio Loco, and you can now find him at his new law office of Dale SCHAFER, Mr. Attorney at Law, Mr. Dale SCHAFER.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. And for those on the East Coast and snow freezing your ass off, good afternoon. We're kind of wet out here ourselves. My story today comes out of MJ Biz Daily, written by Chris, I think it's Casaccia, that with names. It was written yesterday. The headline is California issued 63 cannabis recalls, nearly 500 product embargoes in 2024. Now, for those of you who are in California, you've seen the progression from the temporary license where the state was there to try and help you, to educate you. As we progressed into the more permanent license, they were taking a few more steps to issue notices of violation. I've been involved in a bunch of those. They were corrected fairly easily as the state was trying to get the industry reined in. And of course, they can't do it because the industry in California is out of control, especially the trap. So 2024, they put the gloves on, okay? And in 2022, I believe is when they put in a new regulation about embargoes, and it's in our regs 17801.5, which gives the DCC the authority to embargo products if they're mislabeled, adulterated, or they're putting them in the stream of commerce is going to violate our regulations out here. So the actual number was 481 embargoes and 63 recalls. Now, if you hadn't heard, we have a problem out here, or we had a problem with testing labs. I'm not sure they fixed it yet, but there were some shenanigans going on to bump up the numbers of THC. And, oh, by the way, we're going to ignore some of these pesticides that are in these COAs and certificates of analysis. And so we ended up with a mess here. There were private citizens under our unfair business practices law that were going in, buying products, having them tested, reporting to the state, hey, there's contamination in this. And the state just was slower than molasses in January to do much about it. Well, 2024, it looks like Nicole Elliott, turned the burners on and began to heat this thing up. And there were, just so that you understand, in 2022 and 2023, there were only 3 recalls. Now we have 63 last year. With an embargo, due process rights you have with an embargo, you got to be notified that your product, there's probable cause to believe your product is adulterated, it's misbranded, or putting in the stream of commerce is going to cause a violation of the act. Okay? So that happened 481 times. And there isn't a lot you can do once you get that embargo notice. They're supposed to tell you what happened, what you did, and then you can submit a plan to try and remediate the problem. And if you got a simple problem like the people you hired stuck the wrong sticker on, it shows the wrong amount of THC or something like that, a plan can be submitted to remedy that, put it back in the stream of commerce. Once it gets out in the stream of commerce and there's a recall, this is a whole different kettle of fish. In California, we've been complaining for a long time that it takes too damn long for a recall notice to go out. If you get a batch of hamburger with salmonella in it and somebody goes to the hospital with salmonella poisoning, that it's embargoed and recalled immediately. We don't seem to have the ability to do that here in California. I suspect that's going to get a little bit different here. Now, what my friends are predicting, and I'm right there with them, is that this is only going to get more in the embargo and recalls than we have for years. That enforcement is coming. And if you don't have standard operating procedures in your business to deal with making sure it's not adulterated or that it's not mislabeled or there's not some other problem with it, before you get it into the metric system as COAs issued, then you probably should. Because if you get that notice that metric tells us that, you've got a COA that's dirty here, you should be prepared of what you're going to do with that, okay? Or it's mislabeled. And if it gets out on the stream of commerce and it gets recalled, you better have a plan of what you're going to do with that, including having an attorney fairly close by telephone, because these embargoes and recalls can be financially devastating in a market that has no margins to deal with financial devastation. So expect enforcement coming by the way of more embargoes and more recalls. Better have a plan to deal with that. And this is one of the reasons why Elliott went to Cat 4, because the state was just not testing very well. So look for even more pressure to test for more things. If you give a list to people I know in this industry of products you're not supposed to be using on plants, lo and behold, they find some other product. that might do the same thing that also is carcinogenic or somehow toxic to people, and it'll end up in these plants and these products. So expect more enforcement, be prepared for it. And for other states that are watching, learn from California. Okay, don't be stupid. Don't have rectal myopia here. Figure out what we've done wrong, which has been a whole lot, and then expect once they figure this out, they're going to show up. They have a right to come on your premises, look around. If you have these track and trace systems, they're going to be alerted to problems. And do not be surprised they show up. You better be prepared for them to show up and what you're going to do. That's my story for today. Back at you guys. What do you think?
Oh man, the DCC has been belt to ass lately. Like they really have. And all this shit, California got very lax and operators were like, well, they're not coming, which is how we ended up with 8 million fucking burner distros. But guess what? I'm getting calls every fucking day. Somebody got a no-knock. Somebody got a no-knock. They're doing 24-hour notice, which is essentially a no-knock, right? Because typically how this works for a normal compliance inspection when they're not like, blah, blah, blah. They will let you know and they'll be like, you need to call us and schedule an inspection within this many days, right? So that's you're not getting that courtesy anymore because they fucking know. They already know what they're looking for. And that's why metric is so fucking important, because that is the way that from my desk, excuse me, in Sacramento, I can look into what you're doing in LA and your fucking distro and wherever the fuck you are. So I think that for the embargoes, a large portion of the embargoes are because unadulterated product is being brought in, right? So the reason they're embargoing product is because you can't fully trace the actual chain of custody, right? So they can't say, I know that this fucking pre-roll was made from this fucking flower, that was chopped from this plant, that vegged here, that came from this clone, that came from this mom, and this mom entered into the system through these seed stock that we allowed to come in. They can't track that because a lot of times that's not what you're sitting there with. So because operators are doing a really poor job of operating their track and trace systems, I can help you with that. Hit me up. They're finding themselves under embargoes. I had to have an entire fucking farm embargo just because a client wouldn't do the fucking logs that I asked when I need to know that you guys just flipped rooms, or I need to know that you guys just cut a bunch of clones. Like if you're not communicating and you're not communicating properly with the system, then these steps fall apart and it's really hard to go back and trace. I spent a tremendous amount of hours and also got that unread tagged in the shortest amount of time ever in DCC history. So shout out to that too. But a lot of this is operator error, including these recalls, right? You guys know what the fuck you're doing. You guys know that you're like, well, we just finagled the bagel and paid XYZ Lab to just look the other way and be like, can you just? Or XYZ Lab knows that they don't have a properly trained technician or proper standard SOPs in place that are being followed to ensure that these things are actually being tested effectively. So I think that that's a large portion of the issue. And that's why I don't feel bad for people when you get a recall. Like I've gotten one every day this week so far. So it's kind of interesting to me to see those emails come through, and it's big brands. So, I don't feel bad for people because it was your fucking bad. You understood and you signed as the license holder a document that said you understand the rules.
Jenny Beth, I think the key thing that
I'm almost done. That was cool though. That you have to operate under, and the parameters you have to operate within. So don't tell me, I didn't know that. Oops, I can't believe this happened.
I think the key thing that you mentioned there was the labs, right? The labs are the biggest issue. Jason and I had a good friend that came out from Colorado last week looking for a clean product, and a lot of it tested clean over here. They got it back to their state, and it was all dirty.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It was all dirty.
Oh, man, and the numbers were like 20% different from on the potency.
Yeah,
of course.
And so yes, I think Elliot was on to something over at Catalyst, like testing your own shit. But a lot of the smaller operators, unfortunately, they can't afford to do that shit, and they're the ones that are getting the brunt of this belt, the belt to ass, as you put it, from these regulators. Whatever happened to that $11+ million that the state said that they were going to spend on standardizing these lab processes that just fell the fuck through? Right? You got to go straight to the source, and these guys are still going to continue doing what they do, and lab shopping is going to continue to proliferate because there is no real consequences for them. The guys and gals who are getting that ass whooping right now are the folks just trying to feed their family and hanging on to dear life. And this is why you're seeing a mass exodus of single location mom and pop operators leaving the market because of these recalls, because of they're getting their ass whooped and they're getting their license suspended, and they're just trying to keep the lights on. It's just really, really, really fucked up from the core of things. And like Dale said, look at California, look at the shit that's going wrong here. We're on year number 9 of legalization, and we still can't get it right.
That's a good
right.
point.
I mean, that's not just small operators. Jeter had a massive recall. Alien Labs had a massive recall, and that's just in the last couple
they can
weeks.
survive. What I'm saying. What I'm saying is
it's not just small operators. I understand. I guess
if we don't fix the labs, nothing else is going to work. Is what I'm saying.
So it's not just the labs though. There's a lot of operator error. Like I'm watching this happen, like in a day-to-day operational situation, right? They know what the fuck they're doing in a lot of these cases. These are not like a oopsie, I fucked up, oopsie poopsie. It's this is cheaper for me. And R&D testing is so much cheaper than regulatory testing. And you can find a lab who will R&D a batch, especially for pesticides, especially for those things. You don't have to do a full panel. You can say, hey, test for pesticides and test for microbials to make sure this product is safe. Potency, whatever your potency will be, what your potency fucking is. But you can pull a test for things that are going to keep the consumer safe for very cheap. Like there are labs that'll do it for like $7 to $14 for some of those panels. Like, let's just be realistic about this. I don't want to hear anybody crying in their fucking Cheerios because they released a product that was unsafe. Should the labs have caught it? Absolutely. So that is a problem, but there are problems at all levels of operation here.
I say go straight to the source first. And if the source of getting this shit is the labs should be under further scrutiny than the actual like mom and pop shops. Like I'm just saying it as a lot of my clients, the mom and pop shops, they're all going out of business. Because of they're being nickeled and dimed across the board, they're being overtaxed across the board. The ones who can, like the big shops that can't afford to do those little things, they have the staff to do those little things. They're going to be all right. They're going to survive all this shit. The little guy is always the one that gets hurt the worst, and the fish rots from the head, straight up.
Okay, Can America, maybe a little guy. Jeter, not a little guy. Top Shelf, not that little. Noah's. Nah.
I just said that. I said that they will be all right.
Those were the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 recalls that were issued. Out of those, 2 were arguably possibly little guys.
Yeah, but
I said that they will be all right. Those are the products. I'm talking about the retailers that have those products. You dealing with the retail, or you dealing with the recall. You gotta get those products off your shelf. Now you got nothing. Where are these guys gonna go to? They're gonna go to the larger shops, and they're that have product, and they are going to be okay from this. What I'm saying is, because of this problem, all the mom and pop shops are getting wiped out. Period.
The problem is that there was not enforcement that was sufficient in the beginning, so people got lackadaisical and thought that they could get away with stuff and just keep pushing shit through and finagle the bagel. That's the problem. And so now, like that sucks. I run retail. I've had to do recalls. And you know what? It fucking works out. It works out. And it sucks. Like they're not getting fucking hit with a fucking fine. They're not getting hit with, they just have to pull some product off the shelf. And it's usually a couple SKUs, right? So you should have a pretty well stocked. When you look at folks who aren't stocked, it usually means that some invoices haven't gotten paid, so somebody's not delivering to them, or they can't get terms and stuff like that. There's always folks who are willing to come in and fill a hole and fill a gap. There are so many brands. California is oversaturated with weed. So telling me that you couldn't find a new fucking vendor who really needs to get some shelf space and will say, hey, you know what, I'll give you 30, 60-day terms is
and how much of that weed is gonna be clean?
Come on now.
How much of that weed?
I don't know. I gotta side with Jenny on this one. How much of
that weed's gonna be clean?
If you can't operate your business, don't expect me to cry my fucking Cheerios for you because you didn't have a plan in place for when this fucking happens.
Speaking of which, we did get another super chat from the Suitors, so thank you so much for that super chat, the Suitors, who says, Jenny's a student of history and a teacher for light.
What kind of light? Black light?
I think he meant life.
I don't know, but it says light. I thought maybe he was talking about Diet Coke, Jenny.
The teacher of black lights. I like
You know
that.
what?
My
Speaking of, I need a Diet
recommendation.
Coke. I'm gonna go grab one before my story. Good morning, Yarrow Kubrin. My little
My
prince.
recommendation
Exposing the
is
stains.
that you get somebody like Jenny. I mean, I have a business services company does compliance checks, and you take a look, because if you're a cultivator and your product ends up with illegal pesticides on it or other things like that, okay, why in the fuck did you put that stuff on there? Why don't you
Right.
have a cultivation plan and work with the local county ag commissioner on approved pesticides? How do you get there? Okay. I don't have, I mean, I've been called into dealers before, and you take a look at their SOPs and they're shit. Okay. And if they do work, they're not following them. Okay. So that's the problem they get into. If something goes onto a plant, unless it miraculously comes out of the sky, somebody put it on there. Okay. And if you're growing plants that have illegal pesticides or fungicides or whatever on them, you should not be doing that. Okay. And if you get an embargo or a recall, and they all come back and say, hey, we had to recall all this product because you put some illegal pesticide on it, you're getting your ass sued. So my recommendation is stop today, make sure that your SOPs are in line, have someone like Jenny or other compliance companies come in and do a check and make sure you don't have a problem beforehand, because you call me in to fix your problem, the meter starts to tick. It gets very, very expensive to fix these problems once you get into the administrative law procedures. And license revocation or suspension is a killer too.
Yeah, Dale's more expensive than I am. And sometimes, Dale, to be fair, this shit does miraculously this guy. But here's the problem. When we're going into these old flower greenhouses and old general ag greenhouses and not properly retrofitting them, not properly making sure that, you know, you're sealing them off, and it rains and you're in a leaky fucking daisy warehouse from a fucking hoop house, greenhouse from the 70s, 80s, whatever. And now you've been on big ag land, and it's, you know, we know that the moisture rises up from the soil, brings things with it, right? Comes back down. The cycle continues. It is technically raining those toxins down on your plants. And that's how you get trace in smaller amounts. And when you have people who are like, well, God, we almost barely passed, but we didn't use it. We really didn't use it. Sometimes they really didn't use it. Sometimes they moved it into, you know, an indoor grow, and they didn't fucking scrub down the shit out of that facility before they started cultivating in there, and they cross-contaminated that way. So, like, you guys, there's a lot of ways to fuck up. But to Dale's point, if you get in deep enough where you need a fucking lawyer, I guarantee you his hourly is way higher than mine.
Yeah.
You forgot to mention chemtrails too.
Oh boy.
Well, and cannabis is a soil scavenger. So R&D testing, before you send something downrange, an R&D test for those chemicals that might be in the soil is money well spent. Because then I can come in and say, hey, we have a clean test at this point. Where did this come from? If it's a biological, it could come down range a lot of places where improper storage, humidity gets in place, blah, 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 blah. But if you got chemicals in that plant, come through the root system or are applied externally to the leaves, that rarely happens just out of thin air. Okay. And you should be doing R&D testing on your own, because it's hard to buy insurance that'll cover recalls. It's hard to get it. Very expensive. And if you ain't got it and the shit rolls downhill and to the right and you're standing there, it's going to wipe you out. You'll be done.
And I want to answer Curly in the comment section's question, because he asked how to lab test on cannabis compared to tobacco tests. They don't, because they don't give a shit what's in your tobacco. That's supposed to kill you, right? They expect your cigarettes to fucking kill you, which is kind of inadvertently admitting that cannabis is something they expect to be safe and good for you.
Well, I like what you did there. I like what you did there, Jenny Beth. You're on fire today.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I should stay off camera more often and just scream.
I don't know about all that.
Good for that.
Diet Coke.
I don't know about all that. What do you guys say anything about this, Yarrow, before we keep this thing moving?
I mean, I believe that contaminating people is a war crime. I mean, there should be incredibly harsh penalties for endangering people. And I've worked with indoor cultivation crews who run a very clean ship, and where we had to spend a lot of time figuring out that it was actually the building that was contaminating the cannabis. And they had scrubbed down and rubbed down and washed down and all that other stuff. And it turned out that the walls themselves were affecting the cannabis. And so I do believe there are good actors that are going to get bad readings. and I believe those that are reckless don't really deserve a place in the regulated space. I also believe that there are those of us that are just antiquated in our thinking. We used to put stuff on our plants and we would think, well, because it's OMRI rated and the Organic Materials Review Institute says it's okay,
that part,
it must be fine. Well, that doesn't mean you should aerosolize it or put it in your lungs. And so we did stuff without understanding the harm or impacts that we were creating for ourselves and others. And it troubles me very much that in, the biggest market in the country, we're still getting salacious articles coming out of Los Angeles as recently as last summer about products that aren't necessarily safe or pesticides that aren't being tested for. And so there's only really two reasons to have a regulated industry. And the first and foremost is consumer safety with the products that are produced. And if we can't do that right, then to hell with it. I'm going to go back to trapping. And so I think we got to get this right and quicker than it's being done. And having those high safety standards. California used to be able to take credit. It was one of the first states, for example, that was aware that the materials that made flame retardant properties in bedding was showing up in the breast milk of mothers. Now, sure, Europe got it right way before we did. But in California, we said, whoa, 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 you can't put those flame retardants on mattresses because it's actually showing up in humans. And so whether it's BPA or it's flame retardants or it's pesticides, it's easy to rail on the burdensome weight of overregulation. But when it comes to consumer products and the safety of what we put inside our bodies, I'd rather err on the side of caution. I'm trying to live a long time.
I'm happy to say, Yarrow, I'm happy to say I rip the tags right off my mattress as soon as I get them.
That's fair.
But your breast milk is pure, my friend.
Only the purest of Cambodian breast milks live in my refrigerator. Tell you that much.
You have any thoughts on this, Rachelle, before we move on?
No, we should keep it moving, but just want to give a shout out to my colleague Lester Black over at SF Gate, who's written extensively on product recalls in California, specifically how a lot of these products still make it to market, interestingly enough. So check out Lester's coverage. He does great reporting on this.
I mean, they just
Lester's a beast.
Just throw a label over a label, but nonetheless, we're going to roll into our next commercial, and we're going to be right back.
I love Lester's
I need you to
article.
do it. It's not working, Anthony.
Yeah, Lester doesn't get enough credit. Like he was.
Are you a business that's suffering from the hyperinflation that is plaguing America today? We have the solution for you. That's right, Patriot Business Financing. Head on over to www.patriotbfc.com and apply for a loan up to $2 million. Any state, any industry, even the cannabis industry, the CBD industry, as well as the industrial hemp fiber industry. Secure up to $2 million today, and make sure that when you apply, you tell Paul you said hi from High at 9.
The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated.
You know me, I want to spice it up, dude.
Oh, all right. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure that you smash that like button. I know you'll appreciate it. We'll appreciate it, and YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.highat9news.com. Go ahead, take it away, Rico.
What's that?
Go ahead, take it away.
Oh, we're gonna skip the second commercial.
Well, he already played it. He already played it.
Oh,
yeah, he played them back to back today. It's okay.
Okay. Yeah. Up next, cannabis and psychedelics reporter, editor at Green State, and the industry's most decorated Lego champion come to the stage next. None other than Rachelle Gordon.
Thanks, Rico. You know,
Rico Oprah.
You guys say that. I always wonder what it takes to be a Lego champion, aside from just having a super cool collection. Maybe I should enter my collection into contests. Be like, look, is this photo contest? Maybe I'm not much of a competition builder, but I have a good collection. So thank you for the continuing support on that.
Absolutely.
My article today, I wrote this morning at Green State, and it's something that I think we all are aware of, but something that we need to be paying more attention to. The headline is, "Concerning Cannabis Stat Leaves Industry Reeling." What could that be? Let's find out. Cannabis plant is multifaceted and has the potential to do the world loads of good, helping the sick to acting as an alternative to plastics. There's a lot the plant can do. While the potential to help the environment is certainly there, the industry's negative impact is also a concern. According to a new report, cannabis may be doing more harm to the earth than previously thought. A white paper from Evan Mills of California-based consulting firm Energy Associates states that indoor cannabis cultivation is generating a concerning amount of carbon emissions. The analysis suggests indoor weed grows across the country use more power than all other outdoor agriculture combined. And that's not just in cannabis, we're talking about literally everything. The indoor cultivation process is energy intensive, there's no question. Lights, heating and cooling, dehumidifiers, watering systems, and fans all take a lot of juice. Mills writes that annual emissions from the cannabis industry are equal to that of 10 million cars or 6 million homes. That's not the only sector of the legal industry gobbling up energy. Regulations demanding each plant have plastic tracking tags and requiring child-safe packaging with a novel's worth of information and warnings also cause concern. Transportation, storage, waste also contribute to the market's carbon emissions. But there is a solution. Guess what it is? Many within the industry have recognized the environmental concerns and are working toward change. From deploying more energy-efficient practices in production to developing vape recycling programs, a small amount of progress has been made. However, Mills' report says there's only one thing that could truly change the game for the better: grow under the sun. Quote, "The most promising avenue could reduce emissions by up to 76% by shifting more cultivation outdoors," Mills writes. Cannabis farmers have been cultivating outside for generations. However, a state-by-state piecemeal approach has meant sun-grown weed from places like the Emerald Triangle cannot be exported to states where outdoor cannabis is not sustainable or legal at scale. Mills believes a shift in policy, as well as consumer education about the benefits of sun-grown, could help tip the scales. Judy Nelson, co-owner of Soul Spirit Farm, has been advocating for regenerative practices and sensible legislation in cannabis for years. She previously told Green State that a lack of direct-to-consumer sales and monocropping requirements in California state law have had an undue environmental burden. However, it's the large indoor facilities that are the plant's true enemy. Quote, "By my math, you can transport an eighth of sun-grown 16 million miles by train before you would equal the carbon footprint of growing that eighth indoors. Even better if we could ship through the mail across state lines." The legal cannabis will only get bigger as time moves on, and concerns over the environmental impact of the supply chain must be addressed sooner rather than later, particularly as climate change continues to take hold. Fortunately, there are some in the industry working to make the space more sustainable, but it's going to take a massive shift to truly tip the scales. All right, you guys, I mean, we all know it. Growing outdoors is better environmentally, but do you ever think we'll be able to see a shift toward sun-grown in our industry without some type of policy change and education? There's this whole idea among consumers that outdoor is mid, but in my experience, there's a lot of really amazing sun-grown. It's terpene rich, it's delicious, it's sustainable. What do you guys think about this?
Jason, how you feel
indoor is still
about
far
that good old
superior.
outdoor?
Yeah, it's boof. Might as well just throw it in the fireplace or just make concentrates with it. Yeah, just make.
I got some feelings, but you go first, Jenny.
Yeah, I got some feelings too, and I think that, listen, there are different kind of consumers. I don't think that all outdoor is bad. I don't think that all indoor is good. But I also don't think that the cannabis cultivation carbon footprint is the biggest concern in our environmental well-being, right? Cannabis also does a lot of good for the environment, like replacing deforestation and things like that, and putting minerals back into the earth. So until the Prius's battery stops being a fucking walking death bomb as far as carbon emissions, I don't really give a shit if my fucking, grow lights are a little intrusive to the power grid.
You know, and there's one other kind of component on this. You know, like all these power companies. I saw the best meme about this yesterday, and I was like, this is so true. Everyone is like, oh, you can only use energy efficient light bulbs. Oh, you can only use these special energy saving power appliances and whatnot in your home. But has anybody seen any reduction in their electricity costs from doing this? You have?
Jason,
You're probably the only person. You're probably the only person because I haven't.
That's because of the deep state. That's a whole different topic, okay? That's because of the deep state. Now, let me tell you my feelings on this. One of the landmark pieces on the energy inefficiency of indoor cultivation was written by a either professor or somebody affiliated with the University of Colorado. And a lot of people's opinion was tethered to that. And a lot of work that was done later was an amendment to that work. And in that study, they didn't take into account massive things in the model. They didn't take into account the advancement in energy efficient lighting. They didn't take into account the advancement in insulation and the way in which sophisticated facilities are actually built. They also didn't take into account the impact on agrarian communities of the massive influx of labor on those roads when you have big influxes in labor to do outdoor cultivation, and the carbon footprint of that massive commute. Additionally, they didn't take into account that a lot of the indoor facilities are economic revitalization for downtrodden industrial areas within urban environments, where we also need to look at, well, what would those buildings otherwise be doing? And are they crumbling? And so I think that the other thing that's not taken into account when we look at outdoor cultivation is the runoff from fertilizers and things like that. And we're also not taking into account, is that agrarian land suitable for producing food versus cannabis? And so when we talk about indoor cannabis using more power than all of the other agricultural products produced, if we're not looking at that through the metric of kilowatt to dollar value, then we're not getting a great metric. That's a good point. With which to compare. Because, yeah, it might be using a lot more than lettuce, but guess what? A head of lettuce retail is $3.29 for the organic stuff at Whole Foods, and even less if you're getting some iceberg lettuce at Lucky's. And so I think we need to look at the economic impacts separate from the tax stuff around what that actually does. The other thing that I think is indisputable is that if we go back to the alcohol model, which is a reference point that has provided great insight or foresight for regulated cannabis, I don't think there is any debate that outdoor cannabis produces more complex flavor profiles than indoor cannabis. Now, you can have a preference for outdoor or indoor or a strain, however it's created, whatever. But if you're going to have a very rich, multi-dimensional, many notes and lots of flavors going on in combusted cannabis, outdoor does produce a symphony, whereas indoor might be a solo. And so I think that from a consumer and connoisseur perspective, it's not like, you may not want the complexities of the terroir on your palate, but I don't think you can compare it. I don't even think it's a fair comparison, because I think outdoor does produce an experience, an organoleptic experience with your taste buds that indoor just can't even compare to. Now, that said, you know, where are they now? Flocana did a great job of branding the benefits of outdoor cannabis. And for the $10 zillion, hey, if those sirens are for me, you better mute that shit, because I ain't saying nothing. And I got an attorney with me.
The sirens are definitely for you, bro. Yeah.
So I think, you know, we look at Flocana and, you know, the bazillion dollars that they raised. And one of the things that they did a superb job doing was telling the story of the Emerald Triangle, telling the story of Sungrown, and really proselytizing to the industry and to the consumer the benefits. And I don't disagree with any of what they said, but I've also been around people who were so Sungrown focused that they turned their nose up at indoor, as if I was sticking a straw directly into the eyeball of a dolphin by even suggesting that they might want to consume some of it. So I think there's a little bit of elitism that we could ratchet down because if you're in an area that doesn't have an agrarian community, indoor might sometimes be your freshest option.
Indoor is far superior in my opinion, but I do agree with you that that outdoor does create all these different terpene profiles, which I believe outdoor is better for making concentrates than indoor. I'm a big believer in that. But I do think that what?
I agree, especially from an economical COGS standpoint.
Yes, and I do believe that we need to start a campaign, especially here in California, to make HPSs great again and bring them back.
Please double into Gavitas for the people.
Yep, exactly.
Hey, what about LEDs? Come on now.
No, LEDs are trash.
Yeah, but economics is going to kill this argument sooner or later because Oregon's price was less than $100 a pound. Okay.
Yeah, no one wants Oregon weed though, Dale.
Pound. Oh, look, right now
Oregonians do.
They don't.
Yeah. People have been hyping indoor. People have been hyping indoor because of the increased THC levels. Okay. That's one of the big selling. And it comes from the black market when they were hitting outdoor gardens that went indoors. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can't get $100 a pound when this market goes fully legal, okay, and you're spending 3/4 of that on electricity, it's just not sustainable. Okay? And if you take a look at the alcohol model, I think that the figures were the average bottle of wine was less than $10. Okay. So when we get fully legal and people are out looking and comparing prices, all right, if you're going to spend $500 for an ounce of this top flight indoor grown and you can get, an ounce for $40 of outdoor grown, guess what's moving off the shelf? Economics will fix this. And I don't see a big future for indoor grows when you can grow this outdoors at a cheap price and get into the marketplace.
Well, I mean, there's also the argument too with that. I agree with you, Dale, that's going to suck. But, not every cultivar is going to work in every climate, right? There are some things where you do need to augment light. You do need to create these simulated climates because it's not made for here, right? Something that's made to grow in the Afghani mountains might not grow in fucking, Cat City.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, there's just different.
But if you can ship it across state lines, let's go to where it's fully legal. And you look in California foothills, whether it's on the coast or over here where I live, and they can grow the shit out of outdoor plants, produce a whole lot of it. It ships wherever you need it to go. And other places in the country, you can have special terroirs and appellations of origins there that are top dollar. Mm-hmm. All right. You don't have to grow in Minnesota if you can pick it up cheaper out of California.
100%. You're still going to want that indoor OG from LA.
That's right. That fire.
The other thing also is I do think that, I don't think there's a debate around whether the climate is changing. And I don't think that it's a fair paradigm to say that as long as we have Prius batteries, we don't all need to think about how we do our part in our own personal way to try to reduce our impact on this precious earth, right? And so I thought that was a funny soundbite, but I wouldn't really want to live my life that way. I do think that every single person has an obligation to try to be the best global citizen they can. And if that includes personal choices around where we reduce our impacts, that we should all be celebrated for thinking in that way.
I pick up trash. That's what I do. I'll pick up trash. But
you can talk all that shit about the Prius battery, but your catalytic converter is getting snatched.
I mean, listen, you probably recycle too, Yarrow, even though we've seen story after story of the recycling trucks and the trash trucks going to the same fucking place and dumping the same shit in the same manner, right?
Yeah, and recycling is actually worse for the environment.
Throw that shit in the bin.
Recycling is actually worse for the environment. There's plenty of studies that show that. But nonetheless, we are going to keep this train rolling. This was a great article and great discussion. Thank you so much for bringing this up, Rachelle.
Rachelle.
Great job. Great writing on this. We are going to roll right into that tested commercial next, Anthony. Yeah, there we go.
I still haven't had Diet Coke, and I don't want to.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, I left one, you know? But I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility. So you know you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where do I even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Tested. It's not a name, it's a promise.
And we are back, you guys. We are back, you guys. We are gonna roll right in to the man who has to sit on a phone book just so that he can have his hair cropped off the table. He's the man that when we go to Denny's, we always get him a booster seat. And that's right. He does cannabis. He does real estate. And every once in a while, when there's money in cannabis, he will do some cannabis real estate too. That's right. It is none other, the man from the Shire, Mr. Yarrow Kubrin.
I don't eat that Denny's. You don't catch me eating that Denny's. Give me a break. Not eating that. I'm trying to live a long time.
What you're about as tall as Jason, right?
No, he's shorter. Not even close. Not even close, Dale.
I don't think so, Jason. But all right.
I don't care what any of you guys think. I know the truth.
What's the truth?
Come on, Yarrow. Let's keep this rolling. We already know the truth.
Okay. All right. So good morning. High at 9 viewers. Yarrow motherfucking Kubrin. Rounding out the 10 a.m. hour. Thank you for tuning into the only daily news show that covers the last 24-hour news cycle in hemp and cannabis news internationally. And without further ado, one of my favorite topics to riff, rail, and rant about, taxes, which brings the left and the right together. It's a unifying issue for most. Right out of Ohio, local governments worry Ohio will cut off their marijuana revenue stream. Under current Ohio statute, municipalities with marijuana dispensaries are poised to profit from recreational sales through what is known as the Host Community Cannabis Fund. But lawmakers are looking to cut the fund. At 36%, more than 1/3 of the tax revenue from the state's relatively young recreational cannabis program was earmarked for the fund, as outlined in Issue 2, the initiated statute. Governor Mike DeWine's budget proposal released Monday eliminates that community fund, as does Senate Bill 56. And under the budget, DeWine proposed that pool of money would instead go to jail projects. So SB 56 redirects all revenue to the General Revenue Fund managed by the state, but that's subject to change, lawmakers have said. Some local officials feel cheated. David Kubicki, president of the Columbia Township Trustees of Hamilton County, said he sold residents on the idea of economic benefits cannabis dispensaries would bring. This is a good deal for us, Kubicki said in an interview Wednesday. Forget how you feel about marijuana morally, philosophically, emotionally, and by the way, I've never smoked before in my life. Kubicki says he sees it as a bait and switch, calling it a tax cash grab. I'm just mortified that the state would come through and change the rules, Kubicki said. It's like somebody said, I'm going to take your lunch money, and you're like, well, you're not allowed to, and it's like, no, we are. That's a very interesting public policy analogy. The Ohio Township Association, which lobbies for township governments in the state, sent a statement to its members on Tuesday outlining their opposition. While your revenue would be eliminated by the General Assembly, you would not be permitted to revoke permits, the statement read in part. One lawmaker on the House Finance Committee said his office had received several calls Tuesday about the issue. When asked Wednesday, House Speaker Matt Huffman, Lima, said he believes the money should go directly to the social services he sees as most affected by adult use cannabis legalization. There does need to be a portion of the marijuana tax revenue that needs to go to local law enforcement. Oh, interesting. That's an antiquated perspective. Not every local community has a poison control center. Yeah, because it's all the edibles people are eating. But many of them do, Huffman said. Kubicki says he sees that as rhetoric. There's no way. I'm not going to say, hey, we need a police officer or whatever over in Columbia Township. Can you help us? Kubicki said. Since voters ratified an initiated statute rather than a constitutional amendment in 2023, lawmakers can make changes at any time. All right, so let me kick this off. First by noting that my dog is chewing on my cable, but hey, he's cute.
That's what you're gonna call it? That's what you're gonna call it, Yarrow?
Hey, listen, you can't chew on my cable. You're not a black German Shepherd.
Oh, boy.
This guy's super cute.
Oh, I thought he just said something else at first, bro.
And
He almost had a Joe Biden moment.
Unfortunately, he's extra destructive, especially while I'm covering the news. So I've always felt like the taxes was a burdensome structure that crushed the hopes and dreams of entrepreneurs and diminished investment into the space. I've also felt like the selling of regulated cannabis was predicated on these taxes going to worthy causes like helping little orphans with cleft palates. And that because the tax revenue in this burdensome tax structure in many municipalities does benefit some worthy causes, it has created entrenched interests that don't actually want to see tax reform. Now, Ohio, which fed me well when I was a director of real estate at CanDev and we secured 15% of the permits for the first round of dispensaries, Ohio is suggesting that the cannabis tax revenue should go to fund the prison industrial complex, because we all know that in America we don't have enough prisons, and that's what will make Ohio great again, is more incarceration institutions. So here we are, another cash grab, more bullshit. Saddening, but not surprising. I'd like to hear what my other guests and pundits think of.
Well,
I love how you left out what political affiliation these guys are.
No, he didn't. He said no, he didn't. He said R and then the city. He just didn't realize that means R stands for Republican and Tillis is where his district is.
Stands for you're a pirate. You're a tax pirate. You're stealing the booty.
That'd be a AR. Just so you know, but you would probably think it was accounts receivable.
10 times you don't have to steal the booty, just ask for it. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, at the grocery store they sell pirates booty all day.
Oh gosh, I want to hear what everybody else thinks.
This is typical of what happens. They promise all this money, but they don't necessarily specify where it's supposed to go. We're supposed to trust them.
Exactly.
And the people in their ear are the cops. When all else fails, they default to the cops to fix problems. So, of course, they got to give them more money. And law enforcement was at the root of most of the problems we have with cannabis in the first damn place. And you're right, Yarrow. The prison industrial complex doesn't need any more funding. Why doesn't Doge go in and start tearing that shit apart? Let's
give them a second. Just give them a little bit of time. They're cleaning up a lot of mess right now, but I'm sure that they will, Dale.
They're making a lot of noise to distract motherfuckers right now.
No, I don't think it's a distraction. No way, bro. It's not a distraction. This is great.
Where are the Epstein files?
Those are getting out. Pam already said that those are getting released, so those will be coming out soon.
What about these egg prices, man? I can't even get eggs anywhere. Gas is spiked like crazy.
Films out there.
What's that, Dale?
Yeah. Let's put the Diddy films out.
Oh, hey, you know what? Don't worry. That is in the works. One of my good buddies is actually working with someone from Puff's camp on a whole documentary in regards with that. And when that does get released, I will announce it and let people know exactly where it is.
Can we get back to taxes and cannabis policy for a second?
I mean, technically, we were talking about taxes.
No, you slid right into the baby oil. Can we get back to taxes?
Go for it, Yarrow.
Yes, Yarrow for the win.
I mean, I think taxes are all ridiculous. I mean, I would be in support of possibly a import tariff over all these excise taxes. I think that would make a lot more sense.
I think it would make the most sense to just give the people what they fucking want and stop stifling progress. How about that?
I mean, at the same time, you know, the cannabis, when people are trying to pass these laws, we say it here all the time, when they're like, oh, the cannabis industry is going to bring so much tax revenue, these people get all glittery eyed and goo faced, and you know what I'm saying, don't know what to do with themselves, and that's, I think, is part of the problem is that the appropriations for how the tax revenue is going to be spent is not allocated ahead of time. And that,
You know
It's
what?
just another bait and switch, man. Another bait and switch by another politician who wants to stifle progress and push back upon the will of the people. That's what's going on.
You know what? I actually kind of fucking enjoy the fact that instead of saying general fund, they actually were upfront, which gives you a chance to actually fight against it before it happens, right? So, like, devil you know is better than the devil you don't. So
That's
at
true.
least they're like, hey, I want to take this money and put it into the prison system. So people can then go push back. They can go lobby against it. You know, they can call their fucking representatives and do whatever, as opposed to the general fund. And people are just like, oh, yeah, general funds, which is cops, police, jails, fucking politicians. So at least they're keeping it a buck and being like, hey, here's how we intend to use this money, albeit inappropriately, but here's what our intentions are.
That's fair. At least they're telling you. I guess you do have a point there with that, Jenny Beth. What do you think?
If I'm like, Jason, I'm about to slap you, you got a chance to duck.
I'm not going to duck. I'm just going to tell you. I'm just going to tell you you're acting crazy. You're not going to do that. But nonetheless, Rachelle, what do you have to say about this? All these taxes. We all know they're all bullshit.
Yeah, it's bullshit. Keep moving.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. These taxes are all bullshit. You hear it here first on High at 9 News.
Taxation is theft.
That's right. That's right. That's
yes,
right.
it is.
I'm a big believer in that. Big believer. Look at that. We all agree on that. I think everyone.
Oh shit.
So look, don't get no pushback from Yarrow.
I mean, it's just that the taxes are mostly levied across the economic powerhouses of this country, which is the left and the right coast, which tend to vote very blue and end up contributing to the welfare state that is the middle America, which tends to be red.
I don't know, Yarrow, you're so off with that, but nonetheless, I'm not even going to go into it because that's a whole rabbit hole. We're already over time. Rico, you ready to introduce Jenny?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Coming up next is the mouth from the South, the highly opinionated and conservatively melanated founder of Kind Cannabis Consulting. Here to break us off with the last story of the day, none other than the crowd favorite, Jenny Beth Dills for real. What you got for us today, Jenny Beth?
The
Thirsty
People's
Thursday.
Champ. I gotta fucking love it. You know, nothing like being the People's Champ, a Diet Coke, and a little bit of colorism in the morning, Rico. So there's that. But all right.
Colorism.
So.
Colorism. What color is your Diet Coke? Did you put a little driblets in there, a la RFK Jr.?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I saw that video.
Coke unadulterated. Thank you.
I saw that. I don't understand why people are shaming RFK for using a tincture.
I don't know.
He put GHB in his own drink.
Stop it. Go ahead, Jenny.
Yeah. All right. Recreational cannabis in Hawaii is one step closer to legalization. After a nearly 3-hour hearing, House Bill 1246 has passed key House committees with amendments aimed at addressing public safety concerns. The House Judiciary and Hawaiian Affairs Committee voted 6-4 in favor, while the Agriculture and Food Systems Committee gave unanimous support. Law enforcement agencies, health officials, and some community groups opposed the measure, citing concerns about impaired driving, youth access, and public safety. However, supporters argue that legalization will generate tax revenue and correct past injustices. The bill includes provisions such as mandatory substance abuse treatment for underage offenders caught driving under the influence, funding for law enforcement training to detect drug-impaired driving, and the creation of Hawaii Cannabis and Hemp Office to regulate the industry. Lawmakers also added a requirement for public education campaign to inform residents about cannabis risks and responsible use. House Bill 1246 now heads to the Finance and Consumer Protection and Commerce Committees for further review. If passed, Hawaii would join 24 other states in legalizing recreational cannabis. And I will definitely be staying on top of this. This is something that is super important to me personally. Working on trying to make sure that these things are reasonable, right? They saved the fucking caregiver system at the last hour, so thank God. There's some really important changes going on in Hawaii. I think any tax revenue for Hawaii would be cool. Hopefully they do not overtax it. I think it's interesting that they're trying to create a drug-impaired driving testing program. So we'll figure out, if they can figure it out, let us know, because nobody else has been able to decide, right? Other than you fall off the car and your eyes are as red as Rico's hat, which is not orange, Jason.
It's orange.
So, all right, cool. See, then that could be your defense, right? My eyes weren't red, they were orange that day.
That's right.
So I don't know. I think that this is a step in the right direction. It was definitely a narrow pass at a 6-4 decision. Obviously, the cops opposed, and we'll just see. I would just like to go ahead and just remind all the mainlanders, stay the fuck out of there. Like, let the Hawaiian people establish a commerce of their own. Let the people who have been caregivers, who've been cultivating and breeding and running a robust medical system in Hawaii for years, get established before you touch your nasty toe in there, Kim Rivers. Stay away. Like, I just think that we need to be very respectful. Hawaii is a different place, right? It's a different ecosystem than what we have here. And even if we have interstate commerce, guess how long it's going to take Hawaii to export something on a 6-hour flight to the mainland and then keep it pushing? So it's
5 hours.
different. It's been very, very heavily colonized and over-colonized and absolutely ravaged by mainlanders. So just like let the Hawaiian people run Hawaii.
That ain't the American way, though, Jenny Beth. Just saying.
Yeah, well, all right.
Actually, really agree with her.
Oh boy,
it's hard to. Yeah, I mean, like going to Hawaii recently. I just got an opportunity to understand to a greater level, just really scratching
the fucked upness, Yarrow, that is over there.
The level of colonial occupation, and I know that just sounds like some woke talking points, but like those native populations got the short end of the stick in a way that is so bad compared with other injustices that have occurred in our lovely nation's history, and they have a lot to offer. I mean, in legacy era, some of the best cannabis came from Hawaii, and so the sooner they get to assume their rightful place on the winner's podium and to prioritize those people that come from that island versus came to that island, I think the world gets better.
Did you stay?
It's crazy when it's crazy to see the shit going down in real time, right?
Did you stay at a resort when you were in Hawaii, Yarrow?
I did not.
You did not. Okay.
No.
All right. Okay.
It's crazy. It's crazy to see this shit going down in real time, and I'm glad you took the angle that you did on this, Jenny Beth, because that's what happens, and that's what America does. Like, unfortunately, and I'm not gonna call this like one political party versus the other. I'm just saying, like, this is what America has a history of doing, and if people do not speak out against shit like this from whatever your political affiliation is only going to fucking continue.
Well, I just noticed that I've been going and speaking at the Hawaii Cannabis Expo for like quite a while. And this year, as we're on the precipice of recreational, a lot of fucking rando wackos were out there. And it's like, oh, where have you been when this is a $20 a ticket conference? You could have been here.
Well, Hawaii Sustainable says all caregivers, patients, and farmers are against this bill. From Jason at Care Wailea. Wailua. To us, we don't want it.
No, they don't. And I'm working with a group of them to try and advise in a way that it does make fucking sense, because Jason is not, I don't know. I think it's just interesting. And there's a lot of, that is actually one of the more heated panels that I've sat through and questioned the regulators at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it was actually very, very heated, and it was very, very heated from the people who were very passionate about preserving the culture. I've never seen somebody get thrown out of a panel so fucking fast from the audience. Like there were a lot of things that were going on. So I think that this is going to be a heated conversation that continues, and I'm trying to support the legacy market and the Native Hawaiians.
Well, there's a thing called the Dormant Commerce Clause we've talked about a few times. You can only put up so many barriers to people coming in to engage in commerce. And so I'm interested how that's going to work, because I agree. We used to get, Kona Gold and Maui Wowie and things like that were just top flight strains back in the day. And I'd like to see them come back and, as much as possible, allow Hawaii to run its own industry. But there's this thing called the Dormant Commerce Clause. You put up barriers, you can have them be found to be unconstitutional. You don't want to be doing that either.
Very, very true. Very true. Any thoughts on this, Rachelle? Hawaii? No? All right. Interesting. I mean, I think Hawaii, you know, it's a beautiful place. I love Hawaii, but you know, I do believe that they're going to screw this whole thing up because of the people that are in charge out there and the ones that are in power. But nonetheless, that's just my opinion. You want like specific names?
Colonizers, the white man.
Stop it. It's all those electeds that love to overtax and overregulate in every which way. And there's a whole bunch of prohibitionists that are out there as well. And so, you know, that's all something that needs to be dealt with.
You know, they need to make their culture our culture. Get the fuck up out of our country.
That is not what
man.
I'm saying at all. That is not what I'm saying at all. That's cute that you want to try to throw that spin on it. While you're,
that's unfair.
While
Jason didn't have that one coming.
Yeah. While you're throwing all these extra spins, why don't you spin on into the closing so we can wrap it up, Rico?
Oh? Yeah, right on, brother. Thank you all for joining us for yet another episode of High 9 News. You can catch us live weekdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to the super fans showing love, getting their comments posted on the big screen. Who we have today, Jason? We had a couple rolling in.
Yeah. A couple from the Suitors. Shout out to the Suitors. Yes, we appreciate it. Thank you so much. The Suitors, man. Much love. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And we had two come in from the Suitors today,
Two from the Suitors. Yeah, two big ones from the Suitors. Yeah, good looking out.
Boom.
Getting some Wagyu today.
Big love to all our live audience and online supporters. Catch us across all media platforms. Tune in each day to the Headlines of Chaos, also known as the developing cannabis industry. Our vetted correspondent team tune in from all over, bringing us much needed variety of perspective and your respected opinions to the table. Our production team, Cloud Media Partners, all our sponsors keeping the lights on. AV struggles to a minimum. Anthony behind the scenes, switching on that board like a woman back in the 50s, you know? As always.
Wow.
Just saying.
Yeah. Shout out to Aim High Hemp Distribution and Catalyst. Thank you guys all so much.
Always.
Weed for the people.
Also,
that's right.
Yep. Cannabis Sativa L, the reason why we show up to read these stories every single day. Thank you, too. It has been a Thursday. What is this month? February,
bro. It's Black History Month, Rico. Come on, get it together.
It used to be, right? Yeah, February 6th, 2025. The show is over, and you've all been blessed with the top industry headlines. Hope it's enough for you to put your pipe and smoke at least until tomorrow. My name is Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High 9 News, cannabis industry's #1 daily news show. And today we're going to pop things out to Rachelle Gordon. What you got, Rachelle? Take us out.
Buy some sun-grown weed. Know your farmer. It's a lot better than you might think, no matter what Jason says.
Stop it. You're just gaslighting
Jason Beck
people.
is fake news.
You're just gaslighting people, Rachelle. That's so cute. I love it. I love a good gaslighting, you guys.
She's talking about lighting gas. That's not the same as gas lighting. There's a difference. She's talking about some outdoor gas.
Yeah, this doesn't exist. That's an oxymoron. It's cute, though.
Look, Yarrow's proud of himself.
Yeah, he is. It was supposed to be Rochelle's last word, Yarrow.
Oops.
Go ahead, run the outro, Anthony. We're ready to go.